Morning, everyone. Okay, so for today, we will continue on the next chapter. But before we proceed, I want to recap on what we have learned on our previous class. Okay, so for the last week, I have explained to you guys regarding the terms in web qualities, which is performance and availability. So I hope you guys still remember it. Okay, then after that we continue on the topics of the redundancy, and then we go on to the chapter of scalability, which consists of the types of scalability, vertical scaling, horizontal scaling, and auto scaling. And lastly, we have discussed about the visualization, which consists of compute visualization, storage visualization, and etc. So I hope you guys still can remember it. Okay, so for today we will talk about cloud computing concept. Then let's proceed to the next slide. Today we are going to discuss on the basics of cloud computing. Then we are going to discuss the 6 advantages of cloud computing, and I hope in the end of this module you will have some general understanding about the cloud computing. Okay guys, now we are going to the first part, basically, which is what is cloud computing. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's talk about what is cloud computing. So, cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of compute power, database storage, application, and other IT resources through a cloud services platform via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. That is the meaning of the cloud computing. Okay, the most basic way to define what the cloud is, that it is a computer located somewhere else that is accessed via the internet and utilized in some way. This cloud also defined and known as web services. So the web services is the other name of the cloud. So this cloud is comprises of servers located in large data centers in a different location around the world. So when you are using a cloud services like Amazon, or as known as AWS, it means that you are utilizing the computers owned by the AWS, as the AWS is the cloud service provider and this AWS own the infrastructure. These cloud computing features can be used to provide some solutions to help users meet their business goals and technology requirements. And with this cloud computing also, an organization can consume on-demand computing and storage resources rather than building, operating, and improving infrastructure on their own. Now let's talk about before the cloud computing coming into this world. So before we have the cloud computing, we have to manage the infrastructure physically, meaning that managing the infrastructure requires spaces, staffs, physical security, planning, and capital expenditure. Whenever you are thinking about resource capacity, whether you want to upgrade or not, so you have to guess the server capacity, or you have to guess whether your storage is sufficient or not for your application. And when you talk about scaling up your infrastructure, it will involve time, effort, and the most important one is cost. For example, if you want to set up a new website, so you have to buy the server, then setting up the server to run the website. This approach is very expensive. That is why the new approach is moving into cloud computing, where you can manage the infrastructure based on what you need, and whenever you want to scale up or down, it won't cost you a lot as the traditional approach. With cloud computing, you have to stop thinking of your infrastructure as a hardware, and instead you have to think of it as a software, meaning that you previously managed your infrastructure physically, and right now by using this cloud computing you manage your infrastructure as a software with a simple clicks on the web services. Everything is in order, simple as that. Because the software is flexible, meaning that managing your infrastructure as a software offers a number of benefit flexibility. If you need to make some changes by using the software can change much more quickly, easily, and cost effectively than the hardware. With a cloud service provider like AWS, you do not need to think about the hardware. With a few clicks, you can provision exactly what you need, and it will be available to you in a few minutes. That means you can provision and terminate resources as necessary on the AWS instead of paying for hardware when you are not using it. You can treat resources as temporary and disposable resources, free from the inflexibility and constraint of a fixed and finite IT infrastructure. And by harnessing the power of AWS, you can be more agile and efficient with change management, testing, reliability, and capacity planning. Let's talk about the cloud computing models. Cloud computing basically consists of three models. The first one is IaaS, the second one is PaaS, and the third one is SaaS. So with IaaS, or known as infrastructure as a service, you manage the server, which can be physical or virtual, as well the operating system, whether it is Windows or Linux. Okay, in general, the data center provider has no access to your server. Okay, the second one is platform as a service, or PaaS. Okay, so with this PaaS, someone else manage the underlying hardware and operating systems. This enables you to run application without managing underlying infrastructure. For example, if you need to patch or update or do some maintenance on the hardware or the operating system, so it will all be managed by the service provider and not by you. Okay, so let's go to the third one. So the third one is software as a service, or SaaS. So with this SaaS, you manage your file while the service provider takes care of all of the data centers, servers, networks, storage, maintenance, and patching. And all you have to worry about is the software and how you want to use it. You are provided with a complete product that is run and managed by the service provider. Facebook and Dropbox are the example of SaaS. You manage your Facebook contacts and Dropbox files, and the service provider manage the systems. Now let's reveal the three cloud deployment models. All-in cloud is a cloud-based application that is fully deployed in the cloud, and all parts of the application run in the cloud. The all-in cloud, also known as a public cloud. Applications in the cloud have either been created in the cloud or have been migrated from an existing infrastructure. Cloud-based application can be built on low-level infrastructure pieces, for example, networking, compute or storage, or can use higher level services that provide abstraction from the management, architecting, and scaling requirements of core infrastructure. A hybrid deployment is a way to connect infrastructure and application between cloud-based resources and existing resources that are not located in the cloud. The most common method of hybrid deployment is between the cloud and existing on-premises infrastructure. Okay, the on-premises infrastructure is located within the physical confines of an enterprise, often in the company's data center. A hybrid deployment model is used to extend an organization's infrastructure into the cloud while connecting cloud resources to an internal system. When you run a cloud infrastructure from your own data center, that's called on-premises or private cloud. While this kind of deployment lacks many of the benefits of cloud computing, it does provide dedicated resources and is popular choice for organizations who need to meet certain compliance standard. Let's take a closer look at capacity in the all-in cloud and on-premises solution. In the all-in solution, the capacity is in sync with demand. Resources are provisioned and decommissioned in response to demand with only a couple clicks. Okay, for on-premises deployment, because you rely on physical hardware, you have to forecast your capacity needs well in advance of the actual demand. Instead of resources that expand and contract with demand, the on-premises solution results in idle, wasted resources waiting for demand to catch up. If demand suddenly outpaces capacity, the shortfall may result in unhappy customer. Furthermore, building an on-premise infrastructure can be slow and expensive. To summarize, the the with the all-in solution, there is no upfront investment, so you avoid the large capital purchases required for an on-premises solution. You just click to order and pay for the resources you need, which are available almost immediately. And cloud computing helps you reduce ongoing IT costs in multiple ways. You pay only for what you use on a variable or on monthly basis. On-premise solution typically require upgrades on 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year cycles. Reduce costs on infrastructure enable organization to focus on the innovation rather than to have to use the money on their infrastructure. And flexible capacity means that your resources are dynamic. You can quickly provision resources as demand goes up and turn off what you don't need as demand declines. And cloud computing speed and agility makes it possible for you to respond to changing market condition. With AWS, you are able to scale up and down instantly, and with cloud computing, you can deploy your application in any of the AWS regions around the world with lower latency and at minimal cost, and go global instantly. What can you do in the cloud? You can use a cloud computing platform to host the application or becoming the SaaS provider. Then you can use the cloud to store the data and do some backup regularly. Also, you can enable the content delivery to distribute the content worldwide. Other than that, you can make use of the cloud to set up a website, and lastly, you can do some enterprise IT solution and store the database on the cloud. These are the side-to-side comparison to show you that what you have on the premises and the AWS. Everything that you can do on the on-premises, you can do it on the AWS itself. AWS enables you to do everything you have on the premises infrastructure, so you do not have to depend on the on-premises infrastructure anymore. So as you can see on the screen, everything you want to do with the traditional data center is available on with the AWS. For example, on the premises you have the firewall, then on the AWS you have the security group. Everything is there if you need, and so you don't have to depend on the on-premises infrastructure anymore. Okay, as summarized, cloud computing is the on-demand delivery for IT resources with pay-as-you-go pricing. So there's three models of cloud computing, which is infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. So we have the platform as a service, or PaaS, and the last one is software as a service, or SaaS. Okay, so we have the all-in cloud, hybrid, and private cloud deployment models. We have talked about it previously. And the last one is cloud services are available to replace traditional on-premises computing activities. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for participating. I hope you guys enjoy during this class session. See you guys later on the next session. Bye.